Why, hello everybody. Welcome to week 2 here in Correctional Systems. Before we get started talking about what we've got going on this week, just a couple things I want to go over here. I'm going to talk about the discussions basically, and just mention the overwhelming majority of this class did all the work. I think I had one student who apparently hadn't figured out that class started and didn't do anything, and one that missed a quiz and a discussion. So if you're the ones that didn't get your work done, get them done. You don't want to get far behind in class because it kind of snowballs and you get to the point where you can't catch up. So just kind of a breakdown of the people in this course, so what they're doing or what they want to do, and only had one that told me which college they're going to go to this time, but we'll go ahead and talk about that one first. This semester I've had students that have wanted to go to 3 colleges that I've never had before between this class and my face-to-face. I have one that wanted to go to Stephen F. Austin, and my daughter went to Stephen F. Austin, so I'm kind of real familiar with it. They're kind of the hated rival of Sam Houston State, my alma mater, so kind of discouraged them. No, I don't. It's a really good school. It's a very pretty campus up there. And then one was going to go to Texas Southern. I know the former chief of police there. I worked with him in Dickinson, so I know a little bit about that. But the college that the one in this class wanted to transfer to, Northwest Florida State, I've never even heard of that. I have heard of Florida, and I've heard of Florida State, but not Northwest Florida State. So I'm sure it's a good school. I assume it's somewhere in the Panhandle, Pensacola area, which is a nice area to be in. So as far as our students, we have 2 different full-time police officers in the class. One of them is working as a detective, and the other one, I believe, is a patrol officer. So we've got some experience here in the class that may be helpful. Unfortunately, they're not in the corrections field; they're in the law enforcement field. But you kind of deal a little bit with corrections in the police field to a degree, particularly or more often as a detective than as a patrol officer, because you end up spending time talking to probation officers and parole officers about your suspects. Because occasionally we have repeat offenders. Now, as far as the wannabes, we've got one student wants to be either a prosecuting attorney or teaching high school criminal justice classes or working as a prison intake worker. Got some time to figure it out. One just wants a job related to the criminal justice field. There's a lot of different areas of that would cover. One wants to be a game warden. One wants to be a crime scene analyst. One wants to join the police academy and become a detective. Might want to talk to our student in there who is a detective now. 2 people just said they wanted to be police officers, and one says they want to be a child psychiatrist. That's a very lofty goal, and I'm very I'm in awe of somebody that will go through medical school and then go on for the extra schooling to become a psychiatrist, in particular a child psychiatrist. That would be a very, well, I would say a very interesting field, but one that is way over my head. I don't think I could deal with the kids that well, especially kids with mental challenges. And then just kind of a mention, we've got 2 students in the class, in the same class, that both work for Target. That just happens to be the company I worked for when I was in high school. My first job was at Target. I don't know if the 2 in here that are in this class work at the same Target. When I worked at Target, it probably would have been the same store. We had 4 Targets in the Houston area. We had fewer than 20 Targets in the entire country. In fact, when I worked for Target, we had a warehouse that was called T99. I worked at T16, which was in Southwest Houston. And with T99, because they never thought they'd have more than 98 stores, so T99 was the warehouse, which was up in Minnesota. I'm sure they've got warehouses across the country now. There are probably more stores in the Houston area than we had in the entire country when I worked for Target. Of course, that was 50 years ago, so I guess it's been a little bit of time. Okay, so let me get out of the way and we'll talk about what we've got going on this week now. So, whoops, if I click the right button, I'll get out of the way. got something on my screen that I've got to clear off. Well, this week we are going to be looking at Chapter 1 in your book on the correctional systems. So you're going to read the chapter in your book and watch the video and take the quiz. But before you read the chapter in the book, before you take the quiz, you want to, or watch the video, you want to come down here to the discussion, and you want to save a copy of this discussion board so you can start filling in the answers. So you can know who George Beto is, who was a former director of the Texas Department of Corrections, and all these others. So you're going to need to submit this as your discussion before you move on to Chapter 2. And you need to submit, we'll talk about the discussion, well, we'll go ahead and talk about it now. So we'll come on down here to your discussion. The first thing you're going to talk about is what you found most interesting about the chapter. And then you're going to submit your exam review. Now, you need to submit both of them in the same post. The way the discussion boards are set up, you cannot see anybody else's post until you make a post. This is deliberate. I want you to do your own work. If you make a blank post and then 30 minutes later you submit a discussion set of answers that look remarkably similar to other students' answers, you're going to fail the class because that's cheating, okay? You can't do that. You've got to do your own work. You've got to have a complete discussion answer. In fact, when we get to next week, well, actually, I think the video is right here. Here's the instruction video. Watch that before you do the discussion because it's very important. We'll just kind of leave it at that. You will, again, have to take Chapter 1 quiz and make at least a 70 on it before you move on to week 3 in Chapter 2. The big point is you can take it as many times as you want, but you've got to make at least a 70. But if you've got, say, a 90 on the test, on the quiz, and you want to retake it, try for 100, and please do. It will help your overall average. Remember, it's the same as an exam. It's 15% of your grade. So if you got this 90 and you're afraid of taking it because, oh, gee, if I take it again, I'll probably make it 70 or 80, it doesn't matter. The quiz is set up for you to get your highest score. So you'll still keep your 90 even though you made a 70 the last time you took it. So please take them until you get a 100 or try for that. And then we've got 2 other follow-up posts that you'll need to do. You'll do 3 follow-up posts on the introduce yourself and the paraphrase exercise. Please be sure you do those. I think most people have already got their introduce yourself follow-ups done, not as many on the paraphrase. And the last thing I want to mention is the Ask Your Instructor. This is where we ask questions about the class. I would encourage you, everybody, to click on that now if you haven't already, and click on the subscribe button. So what will happen is you will get an email anytime someone asks a question. And remember that use this to ask questions about the class, not about any personal things. Don't ask about your grade. Do not ask about your your degree plan. Do that by email. And I've got my email set up, and I'm pointing at the screen. I guess I can use the mouse so you can see it. I got my email set up right here. You can click on that and ask me a question, set up a time to meet with me, or whatever on the more personal issues. But ask about your research paper, ask about something, your question in the chapter, things like that. And then your fellow students will get an email when that question's there, and when I answer, it may be something that everybody has, the same question that other students have. So that's what you're going to do with the Ask Your Instructor. The only other thing that I'm going to mention, I'm going to have you respond to the email if you're watching this by email in the Do This Week email. If you're watching this because you see it in Blackboard, check your email for the Do This Week email and hit respond. And tell me what your topic for your research paper is, and give me the name of the person you plan to interview. If you don't have a name yet, if what have you done to try to find the person, and you should have done something at this point. So tell me, if Madison, you tell me you've got community correction, who are you going to interview? Evelyn, non-lethal weapons, who are you going to interview? And send that back in an email. I want to make sure everybody is working on it. These research papers are due in at the last week of September, so you've got about a month to do them. But if you wait, you can get the research done in about a week and write the paper, but you can't do that interview if you can't find someone to interview. So you have to work on that first. So again, send me an email telling me what is your topic and who you plan to interview. Well, that's all I've got for you this week. This is a longer than normal weekly update video. Normally they'll be less than 5 minutes. It's always longer the first or the second week because we go in talking about about the students, and that takes a couple of minutes. So that's all I've got for you this week. Keep up the good work that y'all have been doing, and I will see you next week.